The following is a preview of Rules of Persuasion, The Businesswoman's Tale by Gregory O. Scott, soon to be featured in Tales from the Galaxies Opera House. Tight-packed airspeeders were like luminous banners stretched above the roof of the Galaxies Opera House. As if mirroring the traffic jam in the sky, crowds below filled the broad promenade leading to the entrance and shuffled slowly toward it. Those in the queue displayed a wide array of fashions, from martial slick gray tunics to colorful weaves of polyfiber and shimmer silk. It was exactly the sight Onara of House Kuat had expected. The season premiere at the Galaxies was one of the calendar events for the Coruscant's elite, and she'd been attending them since her father had first brought her to one nearly 40 years ago. Tonight's performance was even more special than most. The separatist attack on the capital, and the mortal terror it had involved, was fresh on everyone's minds. Tonight, for the first time since the invasion, Coruscant's finest converged in mutual joy and relief. They were still alive, and the Republic endured, and they could get back to business as usual. And for Onara, the Opera House was a place of business. As she passed through the security scanners at the gates and showed her invitation to the staff with a polite smile, she tried to remember the names of the operas she'd attended over the years. Very few occurred to her, and she had to check the program downloaded to her personal datapad to remember tonight's show, Squid Lake, by the Mon Calamari composer Raishu Walwad. An interesting choice, she thought, as she made her way through an extra layer of security and rode the lift into the VIP level. She'd expected a show by human artists, since that was the mood in the capital nowadays. Unlike many aliens, the Mon Cal had stayed loyal to the Republic, so maybe that was why they were favored. Half-decent shipwrights, too, she thought, though their pleasure cruisers were hardly comparable to the exquisitely modern warships produced at Kuat. That was to say, produced by the peerless industrial engines of Kuat Drive Yards, the corporation for which she was the chair. It was a position she'd been born and bred for. One of her earliest memories was her father telling her that business was her life, and there was never rest from it. He said it not to warn her, but as a plain statement of fact. The VIP suites at the Galaxy's Opera House formed a circle around the upper level of the great bowl-shaped arena. Tonight, Onara had been invited to the private box owned by Romeo Treblanc, famed holodrama star. Once famed might have been the better term for it. Though he greeted Onara with a smile and vigorous handshake, the chiseled good looks of 20 years ago had gone bloated and soft. His somewhat flamboyant robe and wide-brimmed hat looked worn at the seams, and there were bags under his eyes. His best roles were long behind him, and she'd heard he'd been having debt problems too, but somehow he'd secured this fine personal suite. It was, in fact, one of the best in the house. Right next door was the Chancellor's own. As she stepped toward the suite's forward balcony, she glanced over. Palpatine himself wasn't in view, but she marked the pale dome of his advisor, Sly Moore. Lady Kuat, have you met First Minister Praji? Treblanc redirected her attention to his other guests. Another man walked up to greet her, this one in dark formal robes. He smiled through his trim beard and said, I believe we met at last summer's Republic Day social, at Cantham House. I remember well. Congratulations on your promotion. As she shook his hand, her eyes darted to the bald man looming behind Coruscant's immigration minister. I believe I've met your companion as well? Otegru Gray. The bald man sketched a short bow instead of offering his hand. A pleasure, Lady Kuat. Of course. Onara turned her smile back to Treblanc. I have invitations to other suites tonight, but I wanted to make sure I got to yours. Your invite was too good to turn down.